Okay, picture my Monday. A man walks into my clinic. Early 50s, been recycling car batteries for 20 years. Good guy, tired. We run his bloods. His blood lead comes back at 45.
45 micrograms per deciliter.
45. And here's the thing that still gets me. After working in 3 different countries, what I do next Monday morning depends almost entirely on which country's rulebook happens to be sitting on my desk.
Meaning the same number, the same man, the same kidneys, different fate.
Completely different fate. In one country, I sign him fit and send him back to the fumes. In another, I'd have pulled him off that job years ago.
And that is a genuinely strange thing to say out loud, isn't it? Lead is not new. This is the oldest poison we have. The Romans knew. This is the substance that basically invented our whole profession.
The canary in the coal mine had a cousin, and his name was the lead painter.
So, let's actually do it. Welcome to the Canary Principle. I'm Naomi Berg.
And I'm Mariana Solis. This is the show where 2 occupational doctors argue, out loud, about how the world takes care of the people who keep it running.
And today, we argue about a single number. The blood lead level at which the system finally says, stop. Off the job. Because that number, the "you are now officially poisoned enough" line, it swings by more than 3 times depending on where you're standing.
3.5 times. Let me just lay the numbers on the table, because when you hear them back to back, it's almost funny. Except it isn't.
Go.
Spain, where I trained. Under our chemical agents regulation, Royal Decree 374 of 2001, the removal line is 70 micrograms per deciliter. 70. That's when I'm legally required to take you off the exposure.
70 is high.
70 is very high. The United States Federal OSHA standard, 1910.1025, pulls you at 60 in general industry, 50 in construction.
The United Kingdom, their control of lead at work regulations, 2002, suspension at 60 for most men. Germany, under their biological tolerance value, TRGS 903, 40.
And then California, Cal OSHA. As of January 1st, 2025, this is brand new, they pull you at 20.
20?
20. So we have gone, across the rich, industrialized world, from 70 in Spain to 20 in California, for the identical biological insult. And I want to be really clear. This isn't a poor country, rich country story. These are all wealthy states with sophisticated regulators.
So the obvious question, and I think this is the whole episode really, is which one of those numbers is right? Because they can't all be.
See, I don't think right is even the honest word.
Why not?
Because here's what the science actually says. The US CDC, back in 2021, set the reference value for lead in an ordinary adult at 3.5 micrograms per deciliter. 3.5.
Which is below every single removal threshold we just listed.
Every single one. By a lot. Toxicologically, there is no known safe blood lead level. None. Lead does damage. To the kidney, to blood pressure, to the developing brain, well under all of these legal lines. So when a regulation says 70, it is not telling you 70 is safe.
It's telling you 70 is the number we were willing to enforce.
That's it. That's the whole trick. The removal line is not a medical fact. It's a negotiation between the worker's body and the factory's payroll. And the payroll has very good lawyers.
Now, I want to push back a little because I think you're being slightly unfair to the regulators.
Please.
A limit isn't only about biology. It's also about what's achievable without simply shutting an entire industry overnight and throwing those same workers out of a job. If you set the line at 3.5 tomorrow, half the battery recycling workforce is unemployable by Friday. And an unemployed man with a slightly lower blood lead is not obviously better off.
That's fair. That's genuinely fair.
So the line is always this uncomfortable compromise between the biology, which says lower, and the economy, which says slower. The scandal isn't that there's a compromise. The scandal is when the compromise stops moving.
And that's exactly what's happened to Spain.
Say more.
So, the European Union finally moved. Directive 2024-869, last year. It drags the whole floor down. The biological limit value for lead is being pushed progressively toward 15 micrograms per deciliter across Europe. 15.
From 70 toward 15.
France is already there effectively. Their blood lead limit is heading to 150 micrograms per liter, which is 15 per deciliter. So my two home countries, Spain and France, right next to each other, same EU, same directive. France is landing near 15, and Spain is still legally sitting at 70.
Why the lag? Same rules.
Inertia. Transposition takes years. Someone has to rewrite the royal decree. It's nobody's political priority, and lead workers are not allowed lobby. Meanwhile, the pipefitters' kidneys don't wait for the paperwork.
This is the part I find quietly enraging, actually. The knowledge exists. The CDC number, 3.5. That's been sitting there since 2021. California read it and acted. The EU read it and legislated. And in between, you have these countries where the science has arrived and the law simply hasn't caught up. And a worker is standing in that gap.
Living in that gap. At 45 micrograms.
Right. Your man. In California, he's already off the job and being watched. In Spain, at 70, he's got 25 micrograms of headroom before anyone's legally obliged to blink.
And that's a man, by the way. Let's talk about the other split in these numbers, because it's the one nobody wants to touch.
The gender line.
The gender line. Look back at what I read out. Spain. Men, 70. Women of childbearing age, 30. The UK, 60 for most, but 30 for fertile women. The US, reproductive capacity workers, 30. Germany, 300 micrograms per liter for women under 45 versus 400 for everyone else.
So, across the board, a fertile woman is polled at roughly half the level of a man.
Half. And I have complicated feelings about this.
Go on, because on paper it looks protective.
It is protective of the fetus. Lead crosses the placenta. It's stored in bone for decades. It mobilizes in pregnancy. The science there is rock solid. A lower line for a woman who might become pregnant is genuinely defensible.
But
notice what it quietly assumes. It says the man at 69 micrograms is fine. His brain, his blood pressure, his sperm. Because yes, lead hits male fertility too. All apparently acceptable collateral. We've decided the future child matters, and the present man is just machinery.
that's a sharp way to put it. Although I'd say the fix isn't to raise the women's line. It's to ask why the men's line is so high in the first place.
Yes, exactly yes. Level down the harm, don't level up the exposure.
Which brings the whole thing back to the same place. The men's number is high because it's old, because it's a compromise that stopped moving.
Everything comes back to that.
Okay, but let me add the twist I care about, because I don't actually think the number is the most interesting thing here.
No?
No, because a number is worthless if nobody's allowed to act on it. So here's my question to you. That 45 on your man, who even gets to see it?
Ah, now you're in my favorite argument.
Because the countries don't just disagree on the threshold, they disagree on who owns the result.
Completely. In Spain, the way our system works, the employer gets a verdict. Fit or not fit. They don't get the clinical detail, but they get the conclusion. And honestly, that conclusion carries the number's shadow.
Whereas in Germany, and this genuinely surprises people, since the 2013 reform of their occupational medicine ordinance, handing that fit or not verdict to the employer from a routine health check is essentially not allowed. The doctor confirms the check happened. Full stop. The result belongs to the worker.
Which means the thing my Spanish system does every single day, deliver a verdict to the boss, would be a data protection breach in Germany.
The core of one country's model is illegal in the country next door.
And then there's where I actually work now, Finland.
The nurse-led world.
The nurse-led world. Here, the occupational health nurse runs the front line. She filters, she decides what actually reaches me. The whole thing is built around following the worker over time rather than issuing a stamp. Different philosophy entirely. Less pass-fail, more let's watch this trend and keep you working.
And I'll admit, of the three, the Finnish instinct is the one I trust most on lead. Because lead is a story about a trend line, not a single reading. 45 today. Was it 30 last year? Where's it going? A system built to follow you catches that. A system built to stamp you fit at 70 doesn't even look up.
That's the whole thing, right there. The number is only as good as the system standing behind it.
So, the canary this week?
The canary this week. Naomi, you go. Where do you land?
I land here. Pick the lowest defensible number you can enforce without wrecking the worker's livelihood. So the direction of California and the new EU directive toward 15 is right. But, and this is the bigger but, wrap it in a system that actually follows the person and lets them own their own result. A low number in a system that only stamps is theater. I'll take Germany's confidentiality and Finland's follow-through over anybody's threshold.
And I'm close to you, but I'll say the blunt version. Trust the number that protects the kidney, not the number that protects the payroll. When Spain and France sit under the identical directive and one lands at 15 and the other still at 70, that gap isn't science. Nobody discovered new biology at the Pyrenees.
The lead doesn't know it crossed a border.
The lead does not check your passport. So this week's canary? The line isn't where the science is. It's where the politics stopped moving. And if you're the one breathing the fumes, it's worth knowing exactly where and why your particular line got drawn.
Next week, we stay with that verdict. Who gets to decide you're fit to work at all, and what your boss is allowed to know about your body? It gets stranger than today.
It really does. Take care of the people who keep it running. We'll see you next week.
This has been the Canary Principle.